Hello everyone. In this tutorial video, I'm going to explain Python set. I'm going to explain how to declare and how to define a Python set, how to print the set as a whole, how to access the set elements, and I'm going to discuss also some and basic function related to set. But before that, please support the channel by clicking on the subscribe button and hit also the notification bell so that you will be notified with all the new videos that I'm going to upload in this channel. And so what is a Python set? Python set is an unordered and mutable collection of unique elements. It means the elements of the set are accessed in a random fashion, okay, because there is no indexing or there is no index address. Unlike in tuple, unlike in list, there are element address. Each value will have an element address, and so it is very easy to get the first element, the second element, and the third element, and so on, because there is an index address for each value. And so that is not existing here in Python set. So there is no indexing here in Python set. And so having said that, how do we declare a Python set? Okay, there are two ways. First is you have to use open and close curly bracket. For example, here in line number 11 here, I have a set, it's called S1, and I will have values or elements 100, 20, and 50. And these values will be enclosed in curly brackets, open and close curly brackets. Okay, so with this, when you see something like this is a set. Okay, so as you all know, in list you have to use square bracket, while in tuple you have to use open and close parentheses. So in set you have to use curly brackets. So this means that I have three elements, 100, 20, and 50. Another way to declare a set is an empty set. So for instance here, I have here S2, that is the element, or that is the set name, and it will be empty. So I have two sets here, one with three elements and one is empty. If we would like to print this, as a whole, the sets, S1 and S2, so I can just say print S1 and print, let's say, S2. Okay, so let's see the difference now. So as you all know, when we run, we can click this one or press Shift F10. So I'll be clicking only here. All right. So as you can see, we have here, this is the output, this is the S1, and this is the S2. It's an empty element. Okay. If you would like to add an element, and that will be easy. All we need to do, let's say for instance in S2, let us add an element. Let's say S2.add, and then the value, let's say the value will be 200. Okay, so something like this. Okay, let's add another one, S2.add, let's have it as something like 30. So now we have two elements for S2. So we have declared here nothing, or it's an empty, and then we have added 2. And so therefore when we run now, we should have three outputs. First the S1, and then the empty element S2, And now the S2 have two elements because we have added in line 15 and 16, we have added two values, 230. So this is how you use the add method. Okay. Of course, we can also add in the S1. Just simply use that add. So S1 that add. So if we will do that, let's say here, I'm going to say here S1 that add. Let's say let's add 200. Would that be possible? Yes. So when we run, there you go. Okay, so as you can see, again, it is unordered. All right. So if you notice here, in S1, we have 100, 220, and 50. And then we added 200. But when we try to print the S1, as you can see, the 200 came first and then followed by 50, then followed by 120. And so this is what I'm saying a while ago, that during runtime, because there is no indexing here, so during runtime, it will access the values or elements in a random fashion. So that's how it works for set. Okay, now, also, you can also create a set with different data types of elements. Okay, so let's say, for instance, let's have S3 here, set 3 here. Let's say we have here string. Let's say Mike, it's a name, and then let's have something like a value. Okay, and then let's have another value, let's say 100.5. So as you can see, we have here a string, an integer value, and a decimal value. Okay. It is also possible to have a character. All right. For a character and string, you may use a double quote or single quotes. Okay, so this is possible in set. It will have, or it can have, different data types. Okay, so this is how you declare. This is how you add also a value using set. Okay, so how do we access these values? So let's have another example. Let's say, well, I'm going to comment on this code first. I'm just going to use this one here. Okay, so let's have another example here. All right, so as you all know, this is a comment, and up to here is the comment. That means it will not execute all this when we run our Python program. So it will just execute this one part here. All right, so let's have another example. Let's say I want to access all the data or the elements. All right, so let us just use the for statement. So I'm going to use x in S1, and I'm just going to print all the values. Right, so as you all know, this is a loop statement. For x in, I'm going to use the in. Okay, S1 is our set, which means it will get each value, again in random fashion. All right, so which means x can be 100, 20, or 50, and we will just print that value. So this will loop 3 times. So it will go into the loop 3 times because we have 3 values here. That's the meaning of this line 12 and line 13. So I'm just going to run it. Let's see. So as you can see, it gets first the 50 and then followed by 100 and followed by 20. So this is again because set is unordered. All right. So that's how it is. It is unordered, and so when you run the program, it will randomly get the value, okay, in that fashion. until all the data are accessed, right? So it's like this. So with the value of x here, you can now do anything now here, okay, with the value of x. So let's have another example, right? So I'm just going to use the same thing. So for instance, we would like to, let's have another values here. Let's say, so let's say we would like to print only those values that are above 100. Above 100 only. And so I can just use something like this. I can just test the x. So above 100, that means something like this. So I will just print those values that are above 100. And so it will be like this. Okay, so this means that you can do anything now with the x. Again, remember, the x is any of these values while it is looping. So while it goes into the loop, the value of x will depend on this. No? The processor, okay, Python will just get any of these values until it gets all. Okay, so we expect 1000 to be here, to be printed, right? So I'm going to run, and so 1000 is there. Alright, so this is how you access the elements of an set or of a set. Alright, now set is also mutable. Okay, mutable, which means we can add. So we have already discussed that. However, the value should be unique, always unique. Alright, so what do you mean by that? So let's have an example. It's always unique. So for instance, we have something like this. Okay, so for instance, we have something like this. And then I'm going to add a value. Let's say I'm going to add 100 again. What will happen here? It will not add 100 because there is already 100 here. Alright? It cannot add 100 because there is already 100 here. That is the meaning of unique elements. The values are different from each other. If you add same value, it will not add that value. So let's try to run it. And as you can see, we're trying to add 100. Supposed to be there will be two 100 here, but it did not do that because set will only accept unique values. And so that is what will happen. However, if we will put a different value, alright, so we have this set here, and these are the values, and then we added another value or element, and then when we print the S1, our set, it should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It should have 6 now. As you can see, there are 6 elements. So that's how set is working, right? Of course, we can use other functions, no? If all our elements are numbers, for instance, let's have something like, I want to get the highest value from the set, the elements of the set. So I can just say something like this. Okay, so print max S1. So we can integrate, or we can use this function max to determine that. So let us see. So as you can see, the maximum value or the highest value is 1000 here. So we can use the max, we can use the mean. Okay, let's use the mean. Right? So as you can see here, we can also use the sum if we would like to get the sum of all the values, numbers, as long as they are numbers. So in this case, they are numbers, something like this. So let's try to see. There you go. So we have 4 print here, so we should be expecting 4 output here. So S1, max S1, minimum S1, and the sum of S1, or our set. S1 is our set here. Alright, so very simple. Set is just very simple to use. Okay, so let's have another example by using the method above here, for instance. No? So let's have this one here again. Okay, and then let's have another set here. So let's say these values are, let's call it a mic sum, like this. Okay, so let's have 2 sets. The first set, it will have these values. The second set will have these elements, okay, values or elements. The update function here will update or will add the elements to an existing set. Okay, the elements of a set to an existing set. Let's say, for instance, I'm going to update S2. So S2 dot update, and then I'm going to use S1. Alright, so what do you mean by this? This means that S2 will have the elements of S1, including the S2, of course. Alright, so we're updating. We need, meaning to say we're adding. That's the purpose of the update. Okay, you're adding something like that. So let us see if this is something like that. So as you can see, the S2 now, the values or elements of the S2 were updated, or simply the values or the elements in the S2, okay, were updated with the values of S1. Okay, so that's how it is. So the parameter here should be a set, right? So it's like this. And so let us use remove. So let us use, okay. So another example here, we will have remove, the method remove. So the remove here will allow us to remove value. So if we can add, we can also remove. So let's say S1 that remove. Let's say I'm going to remove, let's say 50. There you go. And so when we print the S1, let's see how it goes. There you go. So the 50 is not there anymore. Alright. So the latest elements of S1 will become 100, 20, 1000, and 30 only. Okay. So assuming, what will happen if I would like to remove a value that is not there? So let's say 500. Let's see what will happen. There you go. There will be an error message. Okay. So that is the dot remove method. There is another one. It's called discard. Let's see the difference between that one. Let's say I'm going to use, instead of remove, discard. Both of this method, the remove and the discard, they will remove a value or an element from the set. Let's say I'm going to discard 50. Okay, meaning I'm going to remove the value 50 from the set. I'm going to run. So as you can see, it was removed. Right? What if the value is not existing? What will happen? Let's see. It did not report, as you can see, it did not report an error message. So that's the only difference between the two. Okay, you can use both remove and discard to remove a value. If the value is there, it will remove. Or if that element is inside the set or is one of the elements of the set, then it will remove that element or value. But if it is not existing, and you are using discard, it will not report an error message. Whereas the remove will report a message, or it will show you an error message here if that value is not existing. So that's the difference between the two. Okay. And then we have the clear. Okay, so what do you mean by that clear? So s1.clear. Okay, so when you use the clear, it means it will remove only the values. That's why it's called clear, right? So it will remove the values or the elements. So as you can see, S1, we use here clear, and then when we print again S1, there is no value anymore, or there are no values anymore or elements. Okay. The other one is the del S. Okay. So let's say S means the set. So I'm going to use the del and then the set, which is S1. Let's see what will happen. It generated an error because when we say del, when we use the del, then followed by the name of the set, it means it will delete the whole set. Okay, it will remove the whole set, including the values, including the set itself. So that set will not be existing anymore. And so therefore, when you print that set, which you deleted, that means that set is not there anymore. So you're trying to printing it, which means it will generate an error because you're deleting a set. You're printing a set that is not existing anymore. Okay, so that's the difference between clear and del. Del will delete the whole set, the set itself, while the clear will just remove all the elements of that set. But the set is still existing, and so you can still add data in that set. All right. Now, there's another one. It's called pop. Pop is a method that will remove one of the elements. Okay? Like I said, it will pick randomly. When you run the program, it will pick randomly from these values. All right? It will pick one of these values. It will remove that value. And then that value will go to the variable that you specify here. All right? So it will return an element value. So something like that. That's the meaning of the pop. Okay. So let's try to print the X, and then we'll print also the S1. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to run. And as you can see, it picked here, no? S1.pop, it picked 50. And that 50 will go to the X. So when we print X, it printed 50. And as you can see, the S1 now only have 5 elements. So that's how the pop method is working. So it will get one value here, one element here from your set, and then it will return that to a certain variable. All right? Or you can actually print this directly because it will get any one of these. But in this case, we just put it in X. And so when we print X, whatever is that value, so it will print that value, that is X. And at the same time, the pop will remove that value. So when we print that S1, it will be something like this now. Here it is. So no more 50 here because it picked 50. Okay. So see, this is how these simple functions are working for set. So as simple as this is how set is working. Of course, there are so many functions that we can use with the set. Okay, there are also other methods for the set that we can use, but so far these are the basic ones that we can use. Okay, so perhaps in the future tutorial about Python set, we can discuss other method related to set. Thank you very much for watching. See you on my next video.